Texas A&M got two massive commits on the offensive line that are going to help long term.
You are Locked On Aggies, your daily podcast on the Texas A&M Aggies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on into Locked On Aggies. I'm your host, Andrew Stefaniak. Thanks for making Locked On Aggies your first listen every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at LinkedIn. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. That's why LinkedIn Jobs helps find the right people for your team faster and for free. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Terms and conditions apply. So, over the weekend, of course, the spring game occurred. We will discuss that a little bit more. If you missed it, Sunday evening, I put out a little 10-minute, 8-minute recap of the spring game, some quick takeaways, quick thoughts. We're going to break down the spring game all throughout the week, position by position, player by player, ton to break down there, ton of portal stuff to break down. But first, Texas A&M over the weekend had two additions to the offensive line, one via the high school ranks and one via the transfer portal. So let's get straight into it. The first addition that we're going to talk about is the former Utah center, Koli, and then tough last name, Faaiu, Faaiu, cool last name, really, really cool last name. But, looking at his PFF grade last year for Utah, he appeared in 11 games. He started the last 9 games for the Utes, and he had a PFF grade of 63.4. It was about like 530 snaps he played in that range. A pass block grade of 55.5 and a run block grade of 66. So a little bit better run blocking than he was pass blocking at the center position. Looking at the tape and breaking down this addition in my cranium, it's an interesting one, okay? A very interesting movement because, we knew that you needed some offensive linemen. I don't know if I was expecting it to be a center because I think you feel pretty good about your starter at Bryce Foster. I think you feel pretty good about some backups at that position. And I think you've got some guys throughout the interior that can move around. So the question to me is, what was the coaching staff's thought process going into this move? Is somebody upset with Bryce Foster? Are we moving Bryce Foster to guard? Are we going to move Koli to guard? What is the plan with this 6'3", 324-pound offensive lineman that's transferring from Utah? And listen, hear me out, folks. Let's say they brought him in to be in the 2 deep, right? Like to battle with Shanahan and some other guys to be in the 2 deep or the 3 deep. Okay, cool. Want to know why I'm not going to yell at a wall about that? Because we will take as much offensive line depth as humanly possible. As you everydayers here at Locked On Aggies know, I am never, ever, ever going to be upset about adding an offensive lineman depth piece, or if he's a starter. This was a big time get for the Aggies. You feel pretty good about this player that looks good on tape. PFF grade, it's fine. It's not outstanding. It's not awful, but he's a veteran. He's played some college football. He was in the 2021 class. He's 2026 draft eligible. Big dude, 6'3", 324. Played, football at Utah. Played some good teams. He's played Florida. Played some different teams at Utah. I mean, he's played SEC competition. He's played Pac-12 competition. Rest in peace to the Pac-12. But I think the key here, I would be anxious to hear the plan behind this move. Like I wish that there was a press conference after every portal edition and every commit, and it's like, okay, Coach Elko, what was the plan here adding Koli from Utah? What were we going for? Well, what's your visions for him? Because I think he's a guy who you could see play center. He played a lot of center. You know what I mean? He's played a lot of center, but also I think you could slip him out and play him at guard. I think you could do the same with Bryce Foster. I think you could slip Bryce Foster out and he could play guard. I think whatever you do here would be fine. And let's just, once again, I will continue to harp on this. Let's just say they brought him in to be the backup to Bryce Foster. I'm fine with that. You now have a legitimate dude to back you up at center, a guy who's going to play a lot of football in his career here. And I just think no one's going to be upset if you brought him in as a depth piece. I think he's a good football player, and I think adding depth, especially at the offensive line, never hurts. You got 5 of them out there. You got 5 offensive linemen. They're big dudes. They're I always say get the mini car crash. Every play they're getting into a mini car crash. You got concussions. You got a lot of foot injuries. You got a lot of knee injuries. A lot happens to offensive linemen. You want to have as many as humanly possible. So this is a really good addition, in my opinion, folks. And I everything I saw on X / Twitter, was positive. It was only positive. A dude who has played Power 5 football, and that's the goal. And he's also not a rental. He's not a rental. That's what I love. And that's why I said, well, one of these additions was a high school commit, and one of these additions was a portal commit. They both help you long term. I think that sometimes, we talk about this all the time, sometimes in some positions, the 1-year rentals are fine. Sometimes in some positions, you need to go get guys who have 2-3 years eligibility left. And I think that's why, once again, this is a solid addition. It's a guy who can help you for multiple years, whether this year it's in the 2 deep and the next year it's a starter, whatever it is, whatever capacity he helps you, he is still helping you. And I think that Coach Elko has done an incredible job so far during his time at Texas A&M as the head coach. He's done a really good job of seeing holes and plugging them, seeing issues and fixing them. He doesn't beat around the bush. He doesn't, he doesn't let things slide, stuff like that. Like if there's an issue on his roster, he fixes it. And I love that. I just feel like sometimes it's frustrating when you see a coach, we need to add depth here. And so, okay, we need depth at offensive line. Oh, we signed a running back. Why? Why did we do that? We feel good about that position. We needed to add an offensive line. Coach Elko, because we discussed that heading into this portal period, we talked about the players and the positions Texas A&M needs to go get, right? Linebacker, receiver, offensive line. What have they reached out to? Those players. That is what gets me excited. Is that we have issues, we fix them. And that's going to matter. So, solid addition to this roster. Let me know how y'all feel about this one in the YouTube comments. Do we see him on the field? And then let me know in the YouTube comments, what does it mean? Is he going to play guard? Is Bryce Foster going to move to guard? Is he going to be in the 2 deep? Well, what do you see the former Utah center Koli's role being for the Aggies this season? I'm really anxious. It's going to be interesting. Good football player. Good film. Room to improve. I think Coach Cushing can do him some wonders. I think he has room to improve, and he's a guy that a couple good years of college football left in him. He can make his way into the NFL just based on size and strength. And so let me know y'all's thoughts on this edition in the YouTube comments. I'm very anxious to hear them. Next, we're going to talk a little bit about Jante Newman, Texas A&M's most recent offensive line commit in the 2025 recruiting class. Talented player that's going to be a really, really good offensive lineman for the Aggies for a long time. We'll talk about him and what he brings to the table and how this offensive line recruiting class looks coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. But first, I have got to tell you about our friends over at LinkedIn Jobs. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just a job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else. Even those who aren't actively searching for a new job but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job site. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. And once again, we're talking a little bit of high school recruiting now. Getting ready to break down the most recent Texas A&M commit, Jante Newman. And there's no better place to go recruit for your small or large business than LinkedIn Jobs. It is the place to go find your new employees or to go find a new job. Go check them out. Promise you will not regret it. So Jante Newman, most recent Texas A&M offensive line commit in the 25 class, 6'4", 275 pounds. I tell you this, when you watch him out there, when you watch the film on him, he looks massive. Like, you hear 275, and once again, I'm not concerned about the weight of a tackle right now in the 25 class. 275, yes, we're gonna want to see him put on some muscle before but long arms is key, strength is key, technique is key, and Newman possesses all that. So once again, 6'4", 275. He's ranked as the 347th best player in the 2024 class or 25 class, in 24/7 Sports Composite rankings. Held offers from Texas, Bama, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Tennessee. Had a lot of good offers. What I loved, so he looked really good on the pull. He looks really quick on the pull. He gets out. I hate when you watch an offensive lineman pull, and it's funny because this is always, you got to be quick when you pull. If you're not quick when you pull, you're not going to get to somebody. Whether you're getting to a linebacker, whether you're getting to an end, or whether you're getting out on like a screenplay to a receiver, whatever you're doing when you are pulling from your position, you have to get there quick, and you have to find somebody to block. If you don't find somebody to block, you are just taking up space and helping literally nothing. Sometimes my dad always jokes when I put guard, I'd pull on a screenplay. I would never get out to a corner. It was like the CEO of not being fast enough on a pull, and you can't do that. Like, that's what I'm talking about here. Watching the film on him, he's really quick on the pull, and he gets to where he needs to get, and he understands who he needs to be blocking, and that's key too. You have to recognize, anticipate the play. Think about that in baseball a lot. Okay, if the ball comes to me, where am I going? Runner on first. Base hit to me, I'm going to third. Am I going to go to home? Where am I going with the baseball? You have to anticipate. And you have to anticipate who you're going to block on a pull. So I loved that. That was the first thing that stood out. There was like, of the first 10 plays, 3 of them he was pulling, and he just looked really good doing it. The other thing, I'll tell you this, he looked really sound on the pass block. He plays left tackle. And he gets to his set really, really quick. He has deep sets, which is important. When you are going against a speedy defensive end as a left tackle, you have to get a deep set so you do not get beat off the ball quickly. If you get beat off the ball on we call them 60s, 90s. If you do a 60, which is a couple steps instead of 4 steps, you get a slow 60, you are going to get hit quickly by your defensive end, by whoever you're blocking, and they're going to get around you. So you have to set deep and set quick, and that was what really stood out about his film, which I loved to see that. At left tackle, you've got to be quick getting in your sets. If you are not, you are going to get burned by speedy defensive ends, whatever, especially in the SEC. You have got to get to your set quickly. The one thing I noticed, he combats the push-pull move really well. I saw a handful of different pass rush moves used on him in the tape, and there was none that he combated more than the push-pull move. I mean, he knew he could recognize it. He knew it was coming, and what that tells me, yes, okay, he's good. He's good at recognizing what's coming, but what it also tells me is he studies who he's going to be guarding the week to week. He studies film. He knows, okay, this guy loves the push pull. I got to be ready for the push pull. How do I combat the push pull? So that tells me, well, yes, he's good at combating the push pull move. I also think that he's really good at studying film, knowing who he's going to be blocking on a given week and what they like to do when they are pass rushing. So that's good to see. So I like the size. I like the frame. Once again, when you watch him out there, he does his arms look long, and he does not look 275 pounds. He looks massive out there. Yes, he looks skinny and skinny, in a good way, like offensive line skinny, to where he can put a lot onto that frame, a lot of muscle, a lot of strength. But he just looks really good. The frame looks solid right now that you can build on that. He can be a solid SEC offensive tackle. And then he So yeah, that's thoughts on the tape. That's thoughts on the size. And I'll tell you this, Coach Cushing, Coach Elko have done an incredible job so far in the 25 class recruiting offensive linemen. Just in these last few days, you've landed Marcus Garcia, the 4-star tackle. You've landed Connor Carty. It's a Carty party. The 3-star interior offensive lineman. And then I think he was the first commit in your class was Joshua Moses, the 3-star interior offensive lineman. You've done a really good job in the portal. In the high school recruiting ranks with offensive line. We talk about this all the time. If you don't have a good offensive line, you will not have a good football team. That is reality. I hate to break it to everybody. I hate to have to say that, but it's just the truth. If you don't have a good offensive line, you are not going to have a good football team. So what that tells me is you got to recruit well. Using the portal well is great. You go get the kid from Kansas in the portal, Armage, you go get him, right, from Kansas. And what has he done so far? He's been a huge addition. It's great to see. He's fighting for a potential starting role. That is important. But you also want to build from the high school ranks. It is good to be able to, we just got done talking about Koli. It's good to be able to recognize talent in the transfer portal. That is important. But it's also important to build the offensive line through high school recruiting. That is so, so, so very important. And Coach Elko so far has done that. The portal's great. You can use it when you need it, but you don't want to be, I talk about how Lane Kiffin's system of I'm going to go get everybody in the world in the portal. I don't think that is super sustainable. I think you have got to recruit the high school ranks, well to succeed. So using the portal to patch some issues, that's fine. But you've got to recruit well, especially at the offensive line position. You've got to build a farm system of tackles, of guards, of centers. And so far in this class, I like all of these additions at the offensive line position. I feel good about these players. So that's kind of my thoughts here. I feel good about the addition of Newman. I think he's a player that is going to have a role early into his Texas A&M career. Once again, not as a freshman, but down the road. And offensive line is everything. If you don't have a solid offensive line, you will not have a good football team. That's just a reality, not rocket science, just football. So recruiting the position well is very important, and Coach Elko and Coach Cushing have done that so far to this point, and that is going to help. And that development's key too. We saw Coach Fisher recruit well. He recruited offensive linemen, but he didn't develop them. We know Adazio wasn't developing them. You've got to develop them, and I think that's what this new coaching staff is going to do with the talent that they bring in the recruiting class. So those are your two offensive line additions over the weekend. Very excited about those guys to see what Koli comes in and does, and then what Newman does when he is on campus here and after the end of the season. So that is my thoughts on those additions. I now want to talk a little bit more about the spring game and talk for a second about the baseball team's series win in Tuscaloosa. We will have those conversations coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. But first, I want to tell you about our friends over at FanDuel. It's playoff time in the NBA and NHL. Baseball is in full swing, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150 win or lose. Bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all on an app that's safe, secure, and easy to use. What are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win. I am heading over to my buddy Bryce's tonight. We're going to watch the Lakers game, which is a late game. Not a fan of late games, but it's part of West Coast basketball. Very excited about that. Love the NBA playoffs. Not a huge NBA guy until the playoffs. I can get into the playoffs. It's exciting, fun time. I can't wait to bet on it on FanDuel, the only place that anyone should ever do that. So once again, visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So I want to talk a little bit about the spring game. We are going to talk a ton about the spring game tomorrow on the show tomorrow. Also did a little bonus episode about the spring game I posted last night on Sunday evening. So if you missed that, go check it out. Just a little 10-minute breakdown. We'll break it down more throughout the week, but I wanted to get some quick thoughts out. Another quick congratulations. Boots Radford just had his first baby, Tyrese Radford Jr. Congrats to Boots and to Baby Boots, as Boots called him. So congrats, really happy for that. Had his first child. That is really cool to see. And also happy birthday to Boots. I was on his X and seeing what the name of the baby was, and then I see happy birthday to me. So happy birthday to Boots. Congrats. Your baby was born on the day after your birthday, or the day before your birthday. Cool to see. But quick thoughts on the game. Once again, tomorrow we'll get really, really in depth about it. Want to talk about these commits today. But Nic Scourton has taken the college football world by storm. And we predicted that. One thing I talked about yesterday on the little post cast about the game was, hey, and I talked about that leading into the game was, I want Nic Scourton to prove what we think he is, what we think he can be. And he did that. He was incredible. He lived in the backfield. He was batting down passes. He was making tackles. And he also just looks massive out there. I love Nic Scourton. I think he could seriously win some awards this year in college football. He's going to be a monster. He was great in this game. And I think that if there were any doubts of, can he do it in the SEC, this and that, those are now put away. He is going to be an absolute star in this conference, and I can't wait. I think he's the best player on Texas A&M's football team. And I don't think that's really that much of a debate. So that was my first, thought takeaway from this game. And then Noah Thomas was incredible. I think that he could be a touchdown machine this year. I think what was it, the first game of the season last year that he had 3 touchdowns, right? 3, yeah. And we go, oh man, what is Noah Thomas going to do this year? And then you kind of saw he got a little banged up, didn't get in the end zone a ton more. I think that, and Coach Elko said this after the game. Let me read this quote to y'all. He said after the game about Noah Thomas, Mike Elko said he raved on him all day in his post-game press conference, said if he can develop some strength this summer, he has the makings of an emerging wide receiver one, or to emerge as the wide receiver one. That's how good he is. That's how good he played. And he's just massive. He's got everything he needs. I mean, he could be your next Mike Evans type of player. He's got so, Coach Elko says, hey, let's get a little bit stronger. He's going to be a star. I loved the way the running backs, Le'Veon Moss and Ruben Owens, played. They both looked really good. They both had some great plays, a couple through the air, a couple on the ground. I just think that Texas A&M's running back room is in a really, really good spot. I think I feel much better about this offense now. And tight end's still a question mark. Obviously you're really, really thin and banged up at the tight end position with transfers not playing. Donovan Green still banged up from coming off the ACL tear. You're banged up at the tight end position. But you feel really good about your receivers. You feel really good about your quarterback room. And you feel great about these running backs. If this offensive line can bring it together, which that would be a darn shame, ladies and gentlemen, if this offense, when it comes to receivers, running backs, tight ends, quarterbacks, is incredible, and then the offensive line has another year of struggles, that would be incredibly, incredibly frustrating. Hoping that's not the case, but it's just something to pay attention to. Once again, an addition in the portal helps. But this offense, if your offensive line can just be good, not great, not incredible, not best in the SEC, just fine, just middle of the road, top 8 in the SEC, top 10 in the SEC, your offense can be incredibly explosive. I think Coach Klein is dialed in. So those are some offensive thoughts. Once again, I thought Scooby Williams really looked good. Shamar Stewart is an absolute beast. Damian Sanford had that one tackle where I went, oh my gosh. I think y'all all remember that one. I mean, he just came out of nowhere and leveled the receiver on an incredible, just a quick, got to the ball quick, dislodged it. Really good play from him. So, and once again, tomorrow, I want to talk more about the spring game tomorrow. Just wanted to just talk about it for 6-7 minutes. I liked a lot of what I saw. We're going to really get in depth tomorrow with a full episode breakdown tomorrow. But I was really happy with this team in the spring game, and I'm really excited. I think there's a lot to be excited about. Also want to give a shout out to the baseball team. We'll break this down more later in the week, but we just got too much going on right now with the spring game. Baseball wins the series on the road at Alabama. I love it. They got punched in the mouth in the first game, and then they just threw back 2 haymakers, winning games 1 and 2. Game 3 was close, had a bit of a lead. Bama fought back. Bama takes that game. That's a little annoying because, I wanted to bring out the broom again, but I don't care. You go on the road, you win a series against a good baseball team. That is all that matters, and that is what the Aggies did. We'll talk more about the baseball team and what we think about this team, the upcoming series this weekend. We will break that down later this week. But that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Aggies. Once again, if you missed yesterday's breakdown of the spring game, a little 10-minute bonus episode, check that out. Give me thoughts in the comments on the spring game. I'm really curious. And then if you haven't hit that subscribe button, go ahead and hit it. It helps the show a ton. Hit the like button. Really appreciate y'all being here. Hope everybody has an outstanding rest of their day today. And we will see you tomorrow.